I didn't want to be at this party. Let me be clear about that from the start, because it matters. I'm not the kind of guy who goes to high society New Year's Eve events in penthouse apartments overlooking the city. I'm the guy who takes photos at those events, gets paid well, and leaves before the countdown. But JJ, my best friend, my person, had other plans. "You're coming," she'd said 3 days earlier, standing in the doorway of my bedroom while I edited photos. No camera, no work, just you, me, and overpriced champagne. "Why?" I asked, not looking up from my screen. "Because I need you there, and because you've become boring." I had looked up at that. Boring? You go to work, you come home, you watch F1 replays, you edit photos, repeat. She'd crossed her arms, hip-cocked in that way that meant she wasn't budging. "When's the last time you did something just for fun?" "I have fun. Watching recorded races from 3 years ago doesn't count, Alex." So here I am, in a Tom Ford suit I'd borrowed from a stylist friend, holding a glass of champagne I hadn't asked for, watching people I didn't know pretend to be interested in each other. The apartment was ridiculous, floor-to-ceiling windows, the kind of view that costs more per month than most people make in a year. Someone had hired an actual string quartet. The champagne was probably older than me. JJ was in her element, of course. She'd found a cluster of music industry people within 10 minutes and was deep in conversation about some producer drama I didn't care about. Every so often, she'd glance over at me, make sure I hadn't escaped to the elevator. I'd raise my glass slightly. Still here, see, not boring. The truth is, I didn't mind being here, I just didn't feel like I belonged here. There's a difference. I found a spot near the windows, away from the main flow of the party, and did what I do best. Observed. It's an occupational hazard being a photographer. You learn to see the frame before you shoot it, the way light falls, the unguarded moments between poses. At parties like this, everyone was posing. The laughs were too loud, the smiles too practiced, the conversations too aware of who might be listening. I pulled out my phone, checked the time, 11:47 p.m. 1 hour and 13 minutes until I could reasonably suggest leaving. That's when I saw him. He was standing near a mounted TV in an alcove off the main room, partially hidden by a marble column. The TV was on, but muted, showing what looked like race highlights. I caught a flash of a Mercedes cutting through a corner, sparks flying from the undercarriage. Most people wouldn't have noticed, most people at this party wouldn't have cared. But he was watching, really watching. The kind of attention you give something you actually care about, not something you're pretending to care about to impress someone. I don't know why I walked over. Maybe because I was bored. Maybe because I recognized the race. Suzuka 2023, one of the best technical battles of the season. Maybe because he looked as out of place as I felt, despite wearing a suit that fit him like it was made for him. "That's the Verstappen-Hamilton battle for third," I said, stopping a few feet away. "Lot 42. He turned and I got my first real look at him. Early 30s maybe, dark hair, warm brown eyes, the kind of face that was handsome in an understated way. No sharp angles or magazine symmetry, just appealing. He looked at me with genuine surprise, like he'd forgotten there were other people in the room. "You know F1? He asked. "I watch when I can, which is more than I probably should." A smile pulled at his mouth, small but real. "There's no such thing as watching too much F1. Tell that to the people in my life who think I should go outside more." He laughed, a huff of amusement. "I get that. My friends think I'm obsessed." "Are you?" "Absolutely." He gestured to the screen. "This is from the race broadcast, but they edited it. They cut out the part where Hamilton had to adjust his front wing angle after the curb strike in turn 7. That's what made the battle interesting. He was fighting with compromised downforce." I moved closer, watching the replay. He was right. The broadcast had smoothed over the technical drama for the casual viewer. "You work in racing?" "Motorsport engineering consultant," he said. "Mostly aerodynamics. I work with a couple of F1 teams on simulation and track testing." He held out his hand. "Kai Morrison." "Alex Park." His handshake was firm, brief, and professional, but the heat of his palm lingered as I acknowledged the sensation only long enough to file it away as irrelevant. "You're in motorsport too?" Kai asked, turning back to the screen as another replay started, this one from Abu Dhabi. Fashion photography, I said, completely different world. But you watch F1. I watch a lot of things, comes with the job. You learn to see what makes things work, composition, timing, the moment before everything changes. I gestured to the screen where two cars were approaching a braking zone. It's not that different from racing, actually. You're watching for the perfect moment. He looked at me then, really looked at me, and something in his expression shifted, like I'd said something that mattered, though I wasn't sure what. Most people think racing is just cars going in circles. Most people don't pay attention. No, they don't. We stood there for a moment in silence, watching the replay. The party continued behind us, laughter, conversation, the clink of glasses, but it felt separate, muted, like we'd found a pocket of quiet in the chaos. "What are you doing here?" I asked, not rudely, just curious. He didn't seem that interested in the party either. "Friend of the host," Kai said. "He's an investor in one of the teams I consult for. I owed him a favor, so here I am." "You?" "Got dragged here by a friend," I admitted. "She said I needed to be less boring." "Are you? Boring?" "Depends on who you ask." I took a sip of champagne, which had gone slightly warm in my hand. "What do you think?" It was a simple question, but something about the way he asked it, genuinely curious, not just making conversation, made me actually consider it. I think I've made choices that work for me. Stability, routine, a life I built on purpose, not by accident. Kai nodded slowly. "That's not boring. That's rare." "Yeah?" "Most people stumble through life and call it fate. You sound like someone who actually steers." I didn't know what to say to that. It felt like a compliment and an observation and an understanding all at once. On the screen, the race replay had ended, transitioning to a live feed from some New Year's Eve event in Tokyo, a motorsport celebration with drivers and team principals. Kai watched it for a moment, then checked his phone. "I should probably get back," he said, but he didn't move. "My friend will think I've escaped out a window." "Have you considered it?" He laughed, a real laugh, surprised and genuine. "Multiple times. There is a fire escape that looks promising." "I checked it earlier, too obvious. If you're going to escape, you need to commit to the elevator and walk out the front like you belong somewhere else." Spoken like someone with experience. I've been to a lot of parties I didn't want to be at. "And yet," Kai said, meeting my eyes, "you came to this one." There was something in the way he said it, not flirting exactly, but not flirting either. Just acknowledging that I was here, that we were both here, that this conversation was happening when it didn't have to. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. JJ, texting from across the room. "Where are you? Left already?" I typed back, "Not yet. Just found someone who actually watches F1, talking racing. Don't let me interrupt your nerd bonding, but you're not allowed to leave early now." I looked up, trying to find her in the crowd, but she'd moved, probably deeper into whatever music industry conversation she'd been in. I put my phone away. "Sorry," I said to Kai, friend checking that I haven't escaped yet. "Ah, the one who dragged you there." "The very same. She's very committed to making sure I have a social life." "Sounds like a good friend." "The best, actually." Kai pulled out his phone. "Look, I know this is random, but if you ever want to watch a race live, not at a party, just actually watch it, there's a racing lounge I go to sometimes. They open early for the European races. Good screens, decent coffee, people who actually care about tire strategy." He was offering me his number, just like that, casual, friendly, the kind of thing people do at parties that usually means nothing. Except I wanted to say yes, which was unusual. I'd gotten good at polite refusals, at keeping my life compartmentalized and manageable. Work friends, home life, the occasional hookup that went nowhere and was meant to go nowhere. I didn't collect complications. But standing there, party noise behind us, race highlights flashing on mute, this stranger felt less like a stranger than most people I'd known for years, and I wanted to say yes. "Sure," I said, pulling out my phone. "That sounds good." We exchanged numbers. His contact info was refreshingly simple, just his name and number, no company affiliation or social media handles. I typed mine in his phone, Alex Park, with my number underneath. "Next race is in a week," Kai said, putting his phone away. Yas Marina circuit preseason testing, not as exciting as actual racing, but I'll take any excuse to watch cars go fast. He smiled at that, and something warm settled in my chest, not anything I had a name for. Still, my heart accelerated, a faint blush warming my cheeks, and his smile made him even more attractive. The feeling of being seen by someone who didn't need anything from you.
Kai! A voice called from across the room. A man in an expensive suit was waving him over, impatient. Kai sighed. That's my cue, he said, the friend I owe the favor to. Good luck. Thanks. He started to walk away, then paused and turned back. Alex? Yeah? I'm glad you came to this party. And then he was gone, absorbed back into the crowd, leaving me standing alone by the muted television with a half-empty glass of champagne and a phone number I probably shouldn't use. JJ appeared at my elbow a few minutes later, grinning like a cat who'd caught a particularly interesting mouse. So, she said, you've been smiling at your phone for the last 30 seconds? What happened to I'll stay for an hour and leave? It was nice to meet someone with similar interests, I said. And nothing. We exchanged numbers, might watch a race together. She studied me for a moment, her expression shifting from teasing to something more thoughtful. You look different. Different how? I don't know, less, she gestured vaguely, contained, like you actually wanted to be here for a minute. I didn't have an answer to that, because she was right. I hadn't checked my watch, counted down the minutes until I could leave, or felt the need to be anywhere but exactly where I was. It's just small talk, I said finally. Nothing dramatic. She didn't push, which I appreciated, just looped her arm through mine. Well, whoever they are, I'm glad they made this party less terrible for you. The countdown to midnight started at 11:59. Everyone gathered near the windows, champagne glasses raised, ready to welcome the new year with practiced enthusiasm. I stood with JJ, our shoulders touching the way they always did in crowds. Grounding, familiar, home. 10, 9, 8. I scanned the crowd without meaning to, looking for dark hair and a warm smile. 7, 6, 5. Found him near the back, standing with the investor friend, looking slightly uncomfortable with the forced celebration. 4, 3, 2. He caught my eye across the room, raised his glass slightly. 1. Happy New Year! The room erupted in cheers and confetti and champagne toasts. JJ hugged me tight. Happy New Year, Alex. Whatever happens, we're good, right? Always, I said, hugging her back. But even as I said it, even as I meant it, I couldn't stop thinking about a phone number in my pocket and a race in 2 weeks and the feeling that something had shifted, like a car adjusting its line mid-corner, subtle, but enough to change everything.
The morning after. I woke up on New Year's Day to the smell of coffee and JJ singing off-key in the kitchen. Our apartment is small but strategically laid out. 2 bedrooms on opposite ends of the living space, 1 bathroom we've learned to schedule around, a kitchen with just enough counter space for 2 people to work without bumping into each other. The living room has my photography books on one shelf, her vinyl collection on another, and a couch we'd found on the street and reupholstered ourselves. It's home. It's been home for 5 years. I found JJ at the stove making eggs, still in her pajamas, her hair a mess. This is the version of her the world doesn't see, the music producer with 3 platinum credits and a reputation for being intimidating in the studio. Morning, I said, pouring myself coffee from the pot she'd already made. Morning, how's the head? Fine, I didn't drink that much. I noticed you were too busy having an actual conversation with someone to get drunk. She slid eggs onto 2 plates. Was the racing fan cute? I sat at our small dining table. You can say that. Are you going to text him? The question landed heavier than it should have. Was I going to text him? I'd been thinking about it since I woke up. The contact in my phone, Kai Morrison. Just a name and a number, and the possibility of something I couldn't quite define. Maybe, I said, if the timing works out for the pre-season testing. JJ brought the plates over and sat across from me. Alex. Yeah? You know you can, right? Text him. See where it goes. It doesn't have to be complicated. But it was complicated. JJ isn't just my best friend and roommate. She's my wife. We got married 5 years ago, legally, officially, at City Hall with 2 strangers pulled in as witnesses. We wear wedding rings when it's useful, we file taxes jointly, we split rent, groceries, and the occasional fancy dinner when one of us gets a bonus. It was a strategic partnership, a practical one, and in its own way, a fun one. Let me explain, because this matters. This is the foundation everything else rests on. JJ and I met when we were kids, 7 and 6, at Riverside Group Home on the east side of the city. I'd just landed there after my 3rd failed foster placement. She'd run away from her abusive father for the 2nd time, and this time Child Services didn't send her back. We became family the way kids in the system do, fast and fierce, out of necessity as much as affection. I was the quiet kid with a borrowed camera, always watching, rarely speaking. JJ was all sharp edges and sharper words, daring the world to try and break her again. We balanced each other. I taught her that silence didn't mean weakness. She taught me that sometimes being loud was the only way to survive. We aged out together, 18 and 17, and moved into an apartment that was barely more than a closet with a hot plate. She worked retail while producing beats in our bathroom because the acoustics were better. I shot photos for anyone who would pay me, building a portfolio one terrible nightclub at a time. 5 years later, we'd both made it. I had a career as a fashion photographer. She was producing for artists whose names you'd recognize. And then we got married. It was JJ's idea. We were drinking after a brutal week. She'd been passed over for a promotion because her male colleague was considered more stable now that he had a family. I'd lost a major client because the CEO's wife didn't like that I was gay. We were angry, tired, sick of a world that kept shifting the rules. "We should just marry each other," JJ said. I laughed. "Yeah, okay." "I'm serious," she leaned forward. "Think about it. You need straight credibility for certain clients. I need to stop being the difficult woman who won't settle down. We're already each other's emergency contacts. We already cover rent when one of us is short. Why not make it official?" "Because marriage is supposed to be about love?" "Says who?" she said. "It's been a business arrangement for most of human history. We just be honest about it." The benefits were obvious: tax breaks, shared insurance, social legitimacy in professional spaces that still valued traditional relationships, 2 incomes, 1 household, more savings, more security, more freedom to take risks. But more than that, and this is what made me say yes, we'd have each other, legally, officially, permanently, in a way the world would recognize and protect. "Separate bedrooms?" I asked. "Obviously. We can still date other people?" "With discretion, but yes." "And if one of us falls in love for real?" She paused, then said, "Then we figure it out, together, like we always do." 3 months later, we were married. Small ceremony, just us and 2 strangers pulled from the hallway. JJ wore a vintage thrift store dress. I wore my one good suit. We said the standard vows, signed the papers, and went out for expensive sushi. It works, that's the truth of it. The marriage works exactly the way we designed it. We're partners, roommates, best friends with legal benefits. We show up for each other's work events when needed. It's comfortable, safe, predictable. I've dated since we got married, nothing serious, just casual connections that fizzled out naturally. JJ's dated too, though less frequently. We don't talk about it much. Our personal lives are personal unless we want to share. But sitting there on New Year's Day with JJ watching me over her coffee cup, I realized something had shifted. "The guy last night," I said slowly, "it felt different." "Different how?" "I don't know. Easy, I guess, like talking to someone who sees the world the same way I do." I paused. "I haven't felt that in a long time." JJ set down her cup. "Then text him. Watch racing. See what happens." "And if something happens?" "Then we figure it out." She reached across and squeezed my hand. "Alex, this arrangement we have, it's good. It works for us, but it was never supposed to stop us from actually living. I know. Do you though? Because sometimes I think we've gotten so comfortable being each other's person that we've forgotten how to let anyone else in. I thought about that, about the last 3 years, about all the first dates that went nowhere, the casual hookups that stayed casual, the way I'd organized my life into neat compartments that never quite touched each other. Had I been protecting myself or just existing efficiently? Maybe you're right, I admitted. I'm always right. It's exhausting, she grinned, lightening the mood. Text him. Go watch cars go fast. Let yourself be interested in someone outside of work in this apartment. Okay. Promise? I promise. She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her eggs. But something was still sitting uneasily between us, something neither of us wanted to acknowledge yet. JJ? I said. Yeah? That guy you mentioned, the one you've been trying to pursue, are you going to tell him how you feel? She was quiet for a moment, then said, I'm trying to work up to it. He's different from anyone I've met before, actually interested in who I am beyond my job. He sounds good for you. Maybe, if I don't completely mess it up before it even starts. She looked at me. We're both disasters, you know that, right? I know. But we're disasters who take care of each other. Always. We finished breakfast in comfortable silence, both of us thinking about people we'd met, possibilities we were afraid to examine too closely, and the careful balance we'd built that might be about to shift. Later that afternoon, I picked up my phone, stared at Kai's contact, typed a message. Still up for watching practice sessions next Saturday? His response came in under a minute. Absolutely, I'll send you the address. And just like that, without fully meaning to, I'd taken the first step into something uncertain, something that felt, for the first time in a long time, like possibility. Act 2, First Light. The alarm goes off at 5:15 a.m. on Saturday, and for the first time in my adult life, I'm actually excited to be awake before dawn. JJ's still asleep when I slip out of our apartment, the city streets empty except for sanitation trucks and the occasional taxi. The January air bites at my face, sharp enough to feel like punishment, but I don't care. I'm meeting Kai at the racing lounge, and my stomach's doing this stupid fluttering thing it hasn't done since... Actually, I don't think it's ever done this. The lounge is in Tribeca, tucked into the ground floor of a converted warehouse. Through the windows, I can see the glow of massive screens, 12 of them arranged in a grid, each showing a different angle of the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi, pre-season testing. Most people wouldn't wake up at ungodly hours for glorified practice sessions, but most people aren't obsessed. Kai's already there when I walk in. He's at the bar with an espresso, eyes fixed on the center screen where a Mercedes is threading through turns 11 and 12. He's wearing a dark green Henley, sleeves pushed up to his elbows, and I can see the muscles in his forearms shift as he lifts his cup. There's something about the way he watches, completely still, utterly focused, that makes my chest tighten. He turns when I approach, and his whole face transforms. It's not just a smile, it's recognition, like he's been waiting specifically for me. You came, he says, and there's surprise in his voice. Pleasure, too. You doubted me? I slide onto the stool next to him, close enough that our knees almost touch. Most people say they're interested in F1. Not many actually get up at dawn to watch testing. He signals the bartender. What's your poison? And don't say regular coffee. Nobody comes to a racing lounge for regular coffee. What are you having? Triple espresso, oat milk, 1 sugar. He grins. I know, I'm a heretic. Real racing fans drink it black and bitter. I'll have the same, I tell the bartender, then turn back to Kai. So, what am I watching? What follows is 90 minutes of the best education I've ever received. Kai doesn't just explain what's happening on the screens, he makes me see it. The way Ferrari's testing a new front wing configuration, how you can tell Red Bull's found something in their ground effects by the way the car squats in high-speed corners, the micro adjustments drivers make that look like nothing but mean everything. There, he says, leaning forward, and his shoulder presses against mine. He points at the screen. See how Hamilton's taking turn 5? He's braking about 10 meters later than anyone else, but watch his exit speed. I watch. The car dances on the edge of control, and Kai's commentary turns it into poetry. And that's the difference between good and generational. He's making the car do things it shouldn't be able to do. Like making physics negotiate, I say. Kai turns to look at me, and we're close, closer than I realized, close enough to count the gold flecks in his brown eyes. Exactly like that. Neither of us moves. The screens flicker with telemetry data. The espresso machine hisses behind the bar, and somewhere in the background, someone's arguing about tire degradation. But all of it fades except the 6 inches of space between Kai's face and mine and the way he's looking at my mouth. Then someone knocks over a glass 3 stools down and the spell breaks. Coffee, Kai says abruptly, standing. Actual coffee, not, he gestures at our empty espresso cups, rocket fuel. There's a place around the corner. You hungry? I am, but that's not why I say yes. The cafe is one of those aggressively hip spots with exposed brick and succulents and concrete planters. At 8 a.m. on a Saturday, it's blessedly empty except for a couple of NYU students bent over laptops. We claim a corner table and Kai orders us avocado toast and lattes without asking if I want something different. I should probably be annoyed by the presumption, but instead I'm charmed. So, fashion photography, how did you get into that? It's the question everyone asks, and I have a polished answer ready. The story I tell clients, the one that makes me sound intentional and directed. But Kai is looking at me with genuine curiosity, no agenda behind it. And the polished version dies on my tongue. Group home, I said, instead. Someone donated a camera, ancient Nikon, probably from the 90s. I was 13 and angry about everything, and this counselor, Martin actually, the guy you might have heard me mention, he taught me how to use it. Told me if I was going to be pissed off at the world, I might as well document it. Kai's quiet for a moment. Not uncomfortable, considering. Did you, he asked, document it? Yeah, for about 6 months, I said. I wrapped my hands around my latte. I photographed everything I hated. The institutional green walls, the donated clothes that never fit, the way adults looked through us instead of at us. I take a sip. It's good. Too good. Then I realized I was building an archive of misery and I was the only one who'd ever look at it. So I stopped. I exhaled. Switched gears. I started photographing moments that felt real, the good kind. Like what? Like this girl, Amara, 15, obsessed with makeup. Every morning she'd do her face in the bathroom mirror like she was heading for a runway. Full contour, dramatic eyes, the works. I shake my head softly. Then she'd go to public school in the same donated jeans we all wore. But for 30 minutes every morning, she was becoming who she wanted to be. That's what you wanted to capture, Kai says, not a question. Yeah, I nod. The moment people turn into who they imagine themselves as. And fashion lets you do that? When it's good, I say. Most of it's commercial bullshit, but sometimes, I pause, searching. You catch someone between takes. They're not performing anymore. They're just there. I look up at him. Those are my favorite shots, the ones that never make it to print. Kai's gaze is steady on mine, and there's something in it that makes me feel exposed, seen. You ever photograph racing? No, I mean, I've thought about it. The aesthetics are incredible. Carbon fiber, metal, that specific quality of light on a track. But I don't know enough about it yet. I'd want to understand it first, the soul of it, not just the surface. I could teach you, Kai says. Not how to photograph it, you already know that, but what to look for, what matters. My heart does that stupid flutter again. Yeah? I ask and immediately hate how transparent the question is. But Kai just smiles. Where else would I be? Momentum. Monticello Motor Club is 2 hours north of the city, tucked into the Catskills like a secret. Kai picks me up at 7 a.m. in a Tesla Model S that's far too clean for someone who works with racing engines. The drive up is easy. He lets me DJ from his Spotify, and we argue cheerfully about whether Kendrick or Cole is better. He's wrong. It's Kendrick, obviously. By the time we pull through the club's gates, I've learned that Kai hates cilantro, has a younger sister who's a surgeon, and once met Lewis Hamilton at a technical conference and completely froze up. I had a whole speech prepared, he says, parking near the paddock, about fan engagement and the physics of ground effects, and I just stood there like an idiot while he signed my conference badge. Please tell me you kept the badge. Framed in my apartment. I'm not proud of it, but I'm also not ashamed. The track itself is gorgeous, 3.6 miles of flowing curves cut through hills that are still holding on to the last of winter. There are maybe 20 cars in the paddock, a mix of Porsches, a few Ferraris, some purpose-built track cars that look like they've been stripped down to their essential components. The sound is incredible. Engines warming up, the sharp crack of gear shifts, and underneath it all, a kind of mechanical symphony. Kai introduces me to about 6 different people whose names I immediately forget, except for Veronica, who manages logistics and gives me a safety briefing while looking deeply skeptical of my sneakers. "You're not going out on track," she says. "It's not a question." "Just photography," I assure her. Good. Kai's reckless enough without passengers. Kai grins at that, unrepentant. I'm calculated. There's a difference. For the next 3 hours, I shoot. Not just cars. Anyone can photograph cars. I shoot the moment a driver pulls off their helmet and their hair is plastered to their forehead with sweat. The way mechanics lean into engines with the confidence of surgeons. The split-second mid-turn when the tires compress, the suspension works, the whole machine flexing like a living thing. Kai's in his element. He's in the paddock consulting with a guy who drives a modified Cayman, pointing to telemetry data on a laptop and explaining something about brake pressure and trail braking that I only half understand. But I understand the passion, the way his whole body language changes when he talks about racing, looser, more animated. This is what he looks like when he's not performing professionally. This is him, unfiltered. I photograph him too. I can't help it. He catches me eventually, mid-session. I'm crouched beside the track entrance with my telephoto lens, waiting for him to come around turn 1, and when he passes, he sees me and lifts one hand off the wheel in a wave, nearly loses the back end, overcorrects, and then straightens out and accelerates away like nothing happened. My heart's in my throat for 3 seconds until I realize he's fine. Better than fine. He's probably laughing. Around noon, the track goes quiet. Lunch break. Most people head to the clubhouse, but Kai grabs sandwiches from a cooler in his trunk and leads me to a spot past the paddock where the grass slopes down toward the valley. You can see the whole track from here, snaking through the hills. We eat in comfortable silence for a while. The sun's actually warm, and the grass smells like early spring even though it's still January. I'm aware of how close we're sitting, our shoulders touching, our knees bent at the same angle. It feels easy, natural, like we've done this 100 times. "You're good," Kai says, with the camera. "I watched you work. You see things." Occupational requirement. No, I mean, he turns to face me, and suddenly the easy feeling shifts into something else, something charged. Most people look at things. You look into them. There's a difference. I don't know what to say to that, so I don't. I just look back at him and commit the moment to memory. The gold afternoon light on his face, the grass stains on his jeans, the way he looks at me like a puzzle he wants to solve. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Are you seeing anyone?" The question lands like a grenade. My brain whites out for a second and I just freeze. Because I am, technically, legally. I'm married. But the words stick in my throat because the moment I say them, this ends. Whatever this is, this fragile, perfect thing, it shatters. And maybe I'm imagining it anyway. Maybe he's just curious. Maybe he has a girlfriend. No, boyfriend. No, wait, I don't even know. I heard him mention someone named Emma once during a conversation with Veronica. Said something about when Emma and I were together, and my stomach dropped fast. I thought I'd be sick. I've been assuming Emma was a woman. Past tense relationship, but still. He dated women. He's probably straight or bi, and I'm just a friend he likes spending time with, and I'm reading into every little moment because I'm desperate and stupid and... No,
I hear myself say. I'm not seeing anyone. It's not technically a lie. I'm not seeing JJ. Kai's face relaxes into a smile. Good, he says. Then he lies back on the grass, hands behind his head, looking up at the sky. Not good that you're single if you don't want to be, but good for me, selfishly. I lie back too, close enough that our arms are touching. The sky is painfully blue. Why's that good for you? Because I'm trying to figure out if I'm reading this wrong, he says. My heart stops. Reading what wrong? He turns his head to look at me. This, us, the way I can't stop thinking about you since New Year's, the way I find excuses to text you about racing when really I just want an excuse to text you. He pauses. Tell me I'm not imagining it. I should tell him, right now. I should say, I'm married, it's complicated, let me explain. But his face is 6 inches from mine, and he's looking at me like I'm the only thing in the world that matters, and I've never felt this before, not with anyone. You're not imagining it, I whisper. He smiles, soft, genuine, relieved. Okay, good. We stay like that for a long time, lying in the grass while the track stays quiet and the world narrows down to just the two of us. And I think, I'll tell him, soon. Just not yet. Not until I'm sure this is real. 3 weeks pass in a blur of text messages and meetups that aren't dates but feel like dates. Kai, there's a collector's auction at the Javits Center on Wednesday. Want to come judge rich people's taste with me? Me. Only if we can get overpriced coffee after and you explain why someone would pay $2 million for a car they'll never drive. Kai. Deal. It's about the story, not the driving. Ownership of myth. Me. You're very pretentious for an engineer. Kai. You say that as if it's a bad thing.
We meet at a Cars and Coffee event in Brooklyn. Kai spends 45 minutes talking to a guy about the merits of sequential versus H-pattern gearboxes, while I photograph a pristine 1967 Mustang and try not to be obvious about photographing Kai, too. The way he gestures when he's excited, the way he listens, fully present, no phone checking, no wandering attention. Later, at a diner, he tells me about his ex, Emmanuel, Emma for short. 4 years, Kai says, dragging a fry through ketchup. We lived together, did the whole domestic thing. He's a great guy, genuinely, just he wanted me to choose stability, wanted me to take a job with a firm, regular hours, predictable life. And I get it, there's nothing wrong with that. But racing is my stability. It's the only thing that's ever made sense. What happened? I ask, even though relief is flooding through me. Emmanuel. He. Not a woman, not straight. We wanted different things. I chose racing. He chose someone who'd choose him. Kai shrugs. Hurt like hell for a while, but it was the right call. I can't be someone I'm not, even for someone I love. I think about my own marriage, about choosing security over risk, about building a life that made sense on paper. Do you regret it? I ask. No, Kai says immediately. I regret hurting him, but I don't regret the choice. You can't compromise on who you are, not for anyone. He looks at me directly. What about you? You said you're not seeing anyone, but you've had serious relationships, right? A few, I say carefully. Nothing that lasted, nothing that felt... I pause, searching for the word. Necessary. Necessary, Kai repeats, testing the word. I like that. Most people say inevitable or meant to be, but necessary is better, like you need them to breathe. Is that what you're looking for? His eyes meet mine across the table. I think I might have found it. At work, Martin notices. We're in his office reviewing proofs from a shoot, and he's scrolling through my latest work, a series I did for Vogue of models in structural clothing against industrial backgrounds, when he stops on one image and zooms in. You're different, he says. The composition's different? I was trying something new with... Not the photo, darling, you. He swivels his chair to face me. You're different, lighter. Yesterday, you were cracking jokes with Jerry, the grumpy one in the hallway, and that doesn't just happen. I like Jerry. You do now. He studies me for a beat. So, who is he? I should deflect, laugh it off, but Martin has known me since I was a teenager with a chip on my shoulder and a borrowed camera. Lying to him feels pointless. How do you know? I ask instead. Because I know you, Alexander. His voice softens, and I know that look, that very specific mix of terror and joy that means you're falling and you don't know if there's a net. He leans forward. Talk to me. So I do. I tell him about Kai, about New Year's and the racing lounge and the track day and the way Kai looks at me like I'm fascinating instead of convenient. I tell him about the texts that make me smile at 3 a.m. and the way my chest feels too small to contain what I'm feeling. I don't tell him I haven't mentioned JJ. This is good, Merton says when I finish. This is really good, Alex. You deserve this. I don't know if it's real, I admit. Maybe I'm projecting. Maybe... Stop, Martin cuts me off. I've watched you hold yourself at arm's length from every man you've dated for the past decade. If you're feeling this, it's real. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What do you mean? He gives me a look. The marriage, darling, you can't exactly date someone seriously while you're legally bound to someone else. Even in your arrangement, that's a conversation you need to have. My stomach drops. We're not at that point yet. Then when? When he asks you out properly? When he wants to meet your friends? Martin's voice is gentle but firm. You can't hide forever, and you shouldn't want to, not if this is what I think it is. The kiss. The racing museum event is block tie, which means I'm in a suit I hate and struggling with cufflinks that seem designed to humiliate me. Martin is already there when I arrive, holding court near a 1950s Maserati and looking effortlessly elegant in a navy tuxedo. Alexander, he says, pulling me into the conversation, you remember Donna from Condé Nast. We were just discussing whether vintage racing has become too commodified. I make polite conversation for about 10 minutes before Martin notices me scanning the room. Looking for someone? He asks when Diane excuses herself. No, maybe. I don't know. Ah, he sips his champagne. The racing consultant? His name is Kai. Is Kai here? I spot him then, across the room, near a display of vintage helmets. He's in a charcoal suit, talking to a woman in a red dress, and jealousy hits me so hard I can taste it. Martin follows my gaze and smiles. That's quite a look on your face, darling. What look? The if she touches his arm one more time, I'm going to commit a felony look. He steers me toward the bar. Go talk to him. What is he waiting for? I don't want to interrupt. You're not interrupting. You're rescuing him from boring conversation. Trust me, I can tell from here. She's talking about her husband's car collection. Kai's being polite, but he's dying inside. Before I can argue, Kai sees me. His whole face transforms, and he excuses himself from the conversation and starts walking over. My heart's hammering so hard I'm pretty sure Martin can hear it. I'm going to give you two some privacy, Martin murmurs, but he squeezes my shoulder first. And Alex, whatever you need to tell him, do it soon, before this gets more complicated. 2 hours later, Kai and I are alone on the museum's third floor. The McLaren M23 is beautiful, all orange and white livery, raw and aggressive in a way modern F1 cars aren't. But I'm not looking at the car. I'm looking at Kai, who's looking at me. I need to tell you something, he says. My mouth goes dry. Okay? I'm not good at games, not good at reading between lines or taking things slow just because that's what you're supposed to do. He steps closer and we're standing inches apart now. So I'm just going to say it. I like you. A lot. More than I've liked anyone in a really long time. And I keep waiting for you to make a move, but you're either the most oblivious person I've ever met or you're not interested, and I need to know which one it is. I'm not oblivious, I whisper. Then what are you? Terrified. His expression softens. Of what? Of losing this before I've even had it, of telling you the truth and watching you walk away. Of being wrong, I say instead, about what this is, about what you want. Kai reaches up and cups my face with one hand, thumb brushing across my cheekbone. I want you. I've wanted you since New Year's. Kai, tell me to stop, he says. If you don't want this, tell me right now and I'll walk away. We'll go back to being friends who text about racing. But if you don't say stop, I don't say stop. He kisses me. It's not tentative, not questioning. It's done with relish, with intent. His hand slides into my hair, his other hand firm at my waist, and he kisses me like he's been thinking about it for weeks, like he's finished being patient, like this is his answer to every question I've been too afraid to ask. I kiss him back just as hard. My hands wrap around his neck, pulling him closer, and he makes this sound, low, satisfied, that goes straight through me. The kiss deepens, and I forget where we are. Forget the museum, the fundraiser, the fact that anyone could walk up those stairs at any moment. There's just Kai, and the way he tastes bourbon and mint, and the way he holds me like I'm something both precious and necessary. When we finally break apart, we're both breathing hard. Okay, just so we're clear, that was me saying I want to date you properly. No ambiguity. Yeah, I manage. Good. He kisses me again, softer this time. Come home with me. I want to. God, I want to more than I've wanted anything. But reality crashes back in. JJ at home, my apartment, my life that Kai doesn't know about yet. I can't, I say, and I watch his face fall. Not tonight. I have to. There's something I need to take care of first. Tomorrow? He searches my face. Is everything okay? I tenderly caress his face, making sure he's looking at me. I also want this. I just need one day to sort something out. Trust me. He's quiet for a long moment. Then, okay, tomorrow. But Alex, whatever you need to sort out, I can't stay in this place much longer. I need to know where I stand. I float home. That's the only word for it. My feet touch the sidewalk, but I'm not really there. I'm still on the third floor of that museum with Kai's hands in my hair and his mouth on mine, and the certainty of him making his intentions so clear there's no room for doubt. JJ's in the kitchen when I get home, making tea. She takes one look at my face and smiles. Good night? Yeah, and I can hear the wonder in my own voice. Really good night. I'm glad. She pours hot water over her tea bag, and there's something careful in the gesture. Can I ask you something? Sure. The person you've been seeing, did you tell them about us? The question hits like cold water. Not yet? Jess, you know you have to tell them. You can't date someone seriously without them knowing about this. I know. I'm going to. I run a hand through my hair. I needed to make sure it was real first. And now you know? I think about the kiss, about Kai saying, I want to date you properly. Yeah, now I know. So you're telling him? Soon, I promise. I'll tell him everything at our next meeting. She nods, seemingly satisfied. Good, because you deserve this, Alex. You deserve to have someone who makes you look the way you looked when you walked in just now. She pauses. We both do. The discovery. It's Wednesday when everything falls apart. JJ and I are at home, a rare alignment of our schedules. She scrolls on her phone while I edit photos on my laptop. The silence between us is comfortable, domestic, easy. So, she says casually, still looking at her screen, I think I'm going to tell him on Friday. There's a gallery opening. I know he'll be there, the consultant guy. My fingers still on the keyboard. Are you sure? Yeah, she shrugs. I've been dropping hints for weeks, but he's either oblivious or not interested. I figure I'll just be direct. Rip the Band-Aid off. She finally looks at me. That's not crazy, right? It's perfect, I say, and I mean it. She smiles, relieved. My phone buzzes. Kai. Gallery opening Friday at 7. There's an installation on motorsport and industrial design. Felt very you. My stomach drops. What gallery is opening Friday? I ask carefully. She looks up. Kinetic Arts in Chelsea. What's it called? Velocity and form. She pauses. Why? I turn my phone toward her. She reads. The color drains from her face. Her voice falters. That's the same gallery I'm going to. Yeah. This same opening I'm going to? Yeah. Her eyes drop back to the screen, to the name at the top. Alex, her voice is barely there. That's your new man, isn't it? I swallow. Kai Morrison. No, she shakes her head once. No, no, no. She stands so fast her chair tips backward. Please tell me this is a coincidence. Please tell me that we're not. She can't finish. What does he look like? I ask quietly, even though I already know. She exhales shakily. Tall, mixed race, I think, brown eyes, works in aerodynamics. He's been consulting on my documentary for 3 weeks. 3 weeks, the same timeline as me. That's all I can think. You've been texting him that long, I say. Mostly about work, she says defensively. Then softer. Okay, some banter. I thought maybe he was flirting back. Her voice breaks. Maybe I just wanted him to be. She looks at me. Have you been dating him? Not officially. We've been meeting up. And on Saturday. What? He kissed me. He asked me out, properly. The sound she makes is small, wounded. She sinks back into her chair, and for a long moment we sit in the wreckage. He likes you, she murmurs finally. Not bitter, just hollow. And you've been hoping. You didn't know. Neither did you. She laughs once, broken. God, Alex, of course this would happen to us. She wipes her face, straightens. But here's the thing, she meets my eyes. Even if there was a chance, I can't pursue him now. You're my family. I won't jeopardize this. JJ, I'm sorry. Don't be. I know when to walk away, she says gently. She grabs her mug, hands shaking. I need space. I'm going to Eunice. At the door, she pauses. I'm happy for you, she says. I just need a minute to be sad for myself. Then she's gone. My phone buzzes again. Kai. Just realized, are you free tomorrow? I want to show you something. It's a surprise, but trust me, you'll like it. I stare at the text for a long time before responding. Me. Can we talk tomorrow, in person? There's something I need to tell you. Kai. That sounds ominous. Everything okay? Me. It will be, I hope. Kai. My place 7 p.m.? Me. Okay. I set the phone down and look around the apartment, at the photos on the walls. JJ's college graduation, my first gallery show, the two of us at City Hall on our wedding day, grinning like we'd just pulled off the perfect heist. Maybe we had. Maybe we'd stolen 5 years of safety from a world that doesn't promise anyone anything. But now the bills come due, and I have no idea how to pay it without losing the person who's been my family since we were kids.